What muscles should you foam roll? Well, let's first understand what foam rolling is and what the purpose of it is. Well, a lot of us who do foam roll may or may not know the exact reason, and I'll just tell you what the reason is. Foam rolling is to essentially deactivate the muscle to reduce nervous system drive to the tissue. The muscle is hyperactive. Typically, when you're foam rolling a very tight muscle where there's a knot or there's a restriction, it's not moving well. Typically what's happening is there's too much nervous system drive and your brain is essentially it's having too many signals, basically locking up the tissue. And what foam rolling does is it helps alleviate that nervous system drive, so that way it doesn't shoot too much. It doesn't, basically the nervous system doesn't keep firing impulses there to make the muscle function. So why is this important? Well, if you have really tight hamstrings or very tight chest muscles or tight lat muscles, what's going to happen when you foam roll them? It'll reduce the nervous system drive, allowing your body to move a lot better and much more freely to those tissues. Like, so if you do overhead presses, for example, shoulder presses, foam rolling your lats will allow you to press overhead easier because you'll have less restriction. But the problem is, if you do lots of foam rolling, excessive amounts of foam rolling, what happens is that it downregulates the entire system and activates the parasympathetic system. I think it's also, I can't remember if this is correct, or it's the autonomic system of the body, where everything essentially starts to relax. And when this happens, it makes it, well, think about this. You don't want to get super relaxed before you're about to hit a PR on a squat, right? It's kind of contradictory. You don't want that. So really, you should only use foam rolling as a way to help improve your movement. So for example, I'll use foam rolling to roll out my inner thighs because my inner thigh muscles make it difficult for me to hit parallel or get below parallel in the squat. And then I'll stretch my inner thighs. So you essentially just want to mobilize before you lift weights, before you squat, so that way you can move better. That way you get better leverage positions. Why do you want to stretch your hamstrings or stretch your hips out before deadlifting? So that way you can get into a better leverage position to get your hamstrings and glutes to fire before pulling. But you don't want to foam roll your entire lower body because that will make it so that you get too relaxed. Now, some other things to consider when you're foam rolling is, remember that whole purpose of foam rolling prior to workout is to improve movement. So foam roll to break up tissue, then stretch so that the tissue can move a little bit better. This doesn't mean stretch for 5 minutes. It doesn't mean foam roll for 30 minutes. It just means do enough so that your body can move properly, or not properly, move better. Just think about that. That's the whole idea of stretching, is to move better. And sometimes for a lot of people, all you need is a warm-up. You don't need to do a whole lot of stretching. But if you're like me and you have very stiff tissues and you have difficulty getting into the right position, then you're going to have to do some stretching and mobilization. A lot of the time, I do a lot of warm-up sets because that is essentially that activates, basically it stretches me out. I use foam rolling and some light stretching to do light sets of squats to stretch me out. That way I can get into position. That's usually how I use it. Now, if you are trying to foam roll for the purposes of like basically reduce the pain somewhere, that's a whole different thing. Like if it's very tight, very stiff, and it's bothering you, then it's okay to foam roll more, and you want to usually say that for after the workout. Now, remember, when I say foam rolling, it doesn't necessarily limit you to just foam rolling on a foam roller. It could be using like a ball to smash your shoulders. It could be using a barbell to smash your legs to help break up tissue so that you can move better. Another thing what foam rolling does is it helps make the muscle tissue become basically delaminated. Because remember, muscle is surrounded in fascia, and when it's surrounded in fascia, which is basically a thin film over the muscles, sometimes the muscle tissue get stuck together, or they get bundled up, and then they don't move as freely. So when you break up the tissue, it makes it so the muscles are able to slide and glide a little bit better, and also makes it so that the water that's inside the muscle and the blood that's inside the muscle moves around better. Because if you have a very stiff part of your body, very tight muscles, what's going to happen is that water will basically get trapped and stuck in that area. And by foam rolling it, you're basically kind of kneading it, almost like kneading out air pockets. Like, you know, if you're kneading out dough, you're basically tenderizing meat. Basically your muscle tissue is meat. And that's kind of how I explain it when I teach my foam rolling class that I teach at the gym. But that's what I wanted to share with you. Just want to make a short video on foam rolling. I thought this would help you so that way you get a better perspective on kind of how to use foam rolling prior to working out. If you have any questions about foam rolling, other muscle groups in your body, please feel free to leave a comment. Ask a question if you have one. Click like if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber.